Dueling tourney build. If you guys are unfamiliar with the tourney rules, I'll leave a link either in the description or I'll just post the tournament rules in the description below. It's really going to help. I would suggest actually kind of looking over some of the rules before we go into if you're unfamiliar. On console, I'm sure you guys aren't too familiar. Now on PC, on the other hand, a lot more people are more familiar because there's a lot more people doing things on PC than console. Console, really nothing's going on, at least for Xbox. I'm not sure about PS4, but without further ado, fellas, we'll hop right into the build here. Alright, so some of the sets that we're running, notice in the rules, you pretty much can't use any proc sets. Armor Master's pretty much out of the question. You can't use Pirate Skeleton, Shadowrend, anything cheesy like that. They've pretty much done away with all of the cheese. And they've also made it to where swords can only have one shield, so you have to really pick your build really wisely. So let's kind of go over the sets that we're running. I've been actually running this in normal duels. It's pretty fucking effective. Not gonna lie to you. Like even without having two shields. Sure, you can't win all the time. That's just because people's running a shit ton of cheese in duels, especially on console. So anyway, so notice first we have the Master's Inferno. This is our spammable. It's gonna help with our sustain. Gives us a little bit more spam damage there, as you can read. Now, for this particular rule set, I'm going with Nernhoned. You can go with Infuse. That's entirely up to you. But if you do go Infuse, you probably won't run a Shock Enchant. The reason we have a weapon and spell damage enchant on our front bar is because we have to be as tanky as possible. We can't run any cheese sets like Pirate Skeleton and Armor Master. So we have to be tanky as possible, and I'll kind of explain that on the next item here. So the next item we have here is Deloitte Staff, which is part of the Lich set. It is infused, and notice that there's a weakening enchantment. Now, the weakening enchantment, it says 452 reduction. This actually equates to about 700 to 750. I've tested this. I'm not sure if it's a bug or how it's scaling or what's going on with it, but when you tag people with this, it reduces their spell and weapon damage by about 700. That's pretty substantial. I mean that's a lot of reduction, especially if they're running like a really high max mag build or a really high max stamina build, and they don't really have a lot of weapon or spell damage to combat that. I mean, this really hinders them, and this is pretty much up 100% of the time as long as you're light attack weaving. Light attack weaving is super important in the tournaments, just to make sure you have this weakening enchantment up, because as soon as this starts to fall off, like you'll notice it really quick. All right. So also in the rule sets, you can't run poison, so that's out of the question, fellas. Sorry about that. Next up, we're running Bloodspawn. Pretty much all of our gears in pin. We do have one piece of well fitted. We're running tri-stats, well, triglyphs, excuse me, on all the big pieces. Just gives a nice healthy health and stamina pool. You do have to have a pretty high health pool in these tourneys. I've been in one kind of mini tournament on PC. Naturally I'm pretty low CP, so I'm gonna get digged down. But I kind of got a taste of what it was like, and having a pretty decent health pool is pretty much what you want to go for. I'd say around 20k would be what you would want, and then with the Battle Spirit buff, you get about 26k health on Sorcerer. Now there's a health cap of around 30k on the rule set, so you can't just like stack crazy mad health. So 30k is the cap on that. Keep that in mind. The reason I've chosen Bloodspawn, it makes you super tanky. This does proc on shields, and it gives you your ultimate, and plus a little bit of stam recuv. Now, the reason the ultimate is so important, like usually the duel's over in the first or second ultimate usage. Now, if the two combatants are pretty closely matched, yeah, it does take a little bit longer, especially stamina builds. But when it comes to Magicka builds, usually the duel is over in the first 2 or 3 rounds of ults. So the faster you can get your ult, the better. Now, last but not least, we're running Amber Plasma. I mentioned this in another one of my builds. The reason this is so good is because, yeah, it gives you max mag. I mean, it's pretty much a well-rounded set, but it does give you some crit. Crit's really important. Now, we do have almost 50% spell crit. I'll just kind of show you guys here real quick on the character sheet, which is what I should have probably went over first, but it's okay. But here's what the character sheet kind of looks like. Everything completely unbuffed. Now we have everything completely buffed. Oh, let's go ahead and get the Lich proc and shit. You know how it is, fellas. Alright, so here's what counts everything's looking like. I thought the Lich set proc, maybe it didn't. Never mind. Oops. Let's try one more time. There we go. It's got everything looks like. The back bar is a little higher because the Lich. You get the Magicka cover in the back bar. So there's everything looks like. A back bar, our spell and physical resist is a little low, it seems, but with a weekend enchantment, it really makes up for that. And plus some blood spawn procs, these go up to around 23 and 24k respectively. And in your CP trees, I didn't put a lot of CP into making your stat sheets look nice. I put the points into what actually makes the build effective. I know a lot of people, when they do these build videos, they're all about making your stats look absurdly high. And that's really not the case. A good dueling build doesn't rely on a really nice stacked character sheet, okay? Now, I will mention that we do have some pretty hard ass hitting frags. So, for example, our frags buffed up to around 17.6k. I mean, that's unprocced. I mean, that's a lot, considering we pretty much have infinite sustain. When I say infinite sustain, I mean literally you will never run out of shit. You just will not. Alright, so that pretty much covers it for the gear. Sorry for kind of quickly going over that and going off on a tangent. I'll go back to the character sheet in just a minute, come all over the place. And then the jewelry just run on spell damage. So that covers that. We'll hop back in a little bit more on the character sheet. I'm Dunmer, Dark Elf. I just like having the high stand pool. You can run Brighten or High Elf, it really doesn't matter. If you can get away with running the buy stats, which is what I'm running, increases your max magic and your health by a shit ton. Now, you could run tri-stats, but you're just taking a little bit of a hit on your health and your Magicka, which wherein kind of makes you a little bit more squishy. So, this is about as tanky as you're going to get. So, there's all that good shit. Now, what's interesting is going to be the skills. So, front bar, pretty standard. Frags, that's pretty much quintessential on any Sorc build. Curse, just a few things about Curse. Do not hesitate to apply this more than once. Right, so most people wait for the second tick. Don't be afraid to apply this again to keep up the pressure. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Just keep up the pressure. Like every 3 seconds, you know, kind of back in the old days. You know? Don't be afraid to do that. You don't have to wait on the second tick. Running Inner Light, this gives us a crit, and this also gives us more max magic on the front bar. Like I showed you guys earlier, character sheet. We have almost 50% crit, which, since everything can be critable this patch, that's hella ridiculous. I know a lot of builds only around 33%, and you'd be surprised what a big difference the crit makes when it comes to bursting people. All right. Got Flame Reach, kind of like we went over before. This pairs well with our Master Staff. This is our spammable /CC /damage. It does everything. This is just to free up multiple slots on our front bar. And then we have Elemental Drain. This is for sustain, and this also weakens your opponents by a shit ton. That 5,280 equates to about 10% just raw flat damage. So just keep that in mind. I'm not running an Execute. This Execute is a piece of shit. Anyone who likes this, like, more power to you, but every single time I use this, like, literally every single time, you know, all the duels, the shit will proc and just not kill them. It's a complete waste of a slot, in my opinion. If you guys like it, you know, to each their own, by all means run it, but it's a piece of shit skill. Running Shooting Star, you could probably run Ice Comet. I like Shooting Star because it does give you some of the old back when you hit them. And also, you know, if they're a vampire, they're going to hit hella hard by this. So, there's that. Now, there's no targetable pets, so you don't have to worry about those annoying-ass pet builds. Alright, now, back bar. So, here's what we're running. running Dark Conversion. Pretty much, I wouldn't spam this too often. I mean, we have like over 1,300 stamina recovery with our tripods up, so you can pretty much use this whenever you need to. But kind of a rule of thumb I go by is not every time you get CC'd, pop this, but every other time, try to get one of these off if you need it. More than likely, you're not going to need it. But we are running the Unchained passive in our CP tree. I'll go over that in just a minute and show you, how it works if you're unfamiliar. But pretty much when you break CC, it reduces the cost of your next stamina ability by 80%, which makes this only cost 400 stamina. So it's pretty much free to cast. Alright, next we're running Hardened War in this one. It's super cheap. It's the biggest shield that you can pretty much possibly get. And if you pay attention to the passives, it gives you the stamina recovery on your back bar. It's one of these passives. Oh, there we go. Teacher protection. Next, running Rapid Regeneration. Now, you can either run this or Mutagen. It just really depends. They both have their kind of pros and cons. Rapid Regen, yeah, it gives you more healing, but the Mutagen can actually save you. It will give you a burst heal if you get too low to kind of pull you out of the red zone. But Rapid Regen just sticks more often. I just like having a lot of hots on this build because when you're dueling in these tourneys, or just practicing and doing whatever, you have to have a lot of hots going. Your only defense is your roll dodging, your blood spawn, and your blocking, right? Now, you can roll dodge a shit ton on this build. Don't be afraid to roll dodge or block or do what you gotta do. Like, you have 1,400 stamina recovery. Like, you're pretty much a stand build at this point, okay? So, don't feel free to break free your roll dodge. Just don't. Now, that's that. Now we're running Power Surge and Boundless. Boundless is, of course, our class buff. It does a little bit of damage. But the good thing about this is it can constantly keep critting people if they're on you, like a Stamblar or a Nightblade or a Stam DK, what have you. It pairs really well with Power Surge. Not only is this our major sorcery buff, but for each crit you get, it heals you for about 2,500. So it's like 1,250 after the Battle Spirit and all that buff. And that shit can crit as well. So you get healed from Dark Conversion, you get healed from Rapid Regen, you're getting healed from Power Surge and the Boundless Storm, so you have a lot of passive healing without really having to do anything. So that's going to come in handy because sometimes you get really low, you just spam a couple Hardened Ward that's hard to get back out of the red sometimes unless you have this passive healing going on. Do not let Rapid Regen fall off because once you start getting kind of low in your health, sometimes it's hard getting that back, depending on if your opponent's running a lot of bleeds or whatever, applying a lot of pressure. But this, pretty much every ability on the back bar is meant to keep your heals strong, keep your health capped off. Now the last ability we're running is Temporal Guard. It gives you minor protection on your back bar, and if you have the Sigic Order skill line maxed out here, it does give you, there it is, Concentrate Barrier. It does give you a damage shield. This is about a 3k damage shield when you're actually in duel, so it's a pretty hefty shield. This will save you a lot as well. Trying to think what else to kind of go over here. As far as back bar goes, fellas, I mean, this is as bad as goes it gets, unless you're running something cheesy like Icy Conjurer, Necro, and some weird shit. But the playstyle in this, like, really pay attention to the playstyle. It's very forgiving. You have a shit ton of stamina recovery. You have a decent, maximum stamina pool. You play this build as aggressive as you can. Because once you, kind of start sitting on your back bar, the whole fight, that's when you really start falling off. But it will take a little bit of practice. I would suggest doing some duels with friends, just kind of get used to the one ward. It took me a little while to get used to, I'm not going to lie to you. But once you get used to it, I mean, it's really not that bad. It's really not. Now, you can make this build more tanky, like I said, but you don't want to make it too tanky. You're just not going to burst anyone. Alright. So, that about does it for the skills. The character sheet. I didn't go over running the mage, just for a little bit more max of Magicka. And let's go to the CP tree. Now, pretty confident about the CP tree, so I wouldn't change too much in this. Here's the blue tree. It's kind of, you look at everything, pretty much well-rounded. 81 Mastered Arms, get 18 Staff Expert. Okay. Next, 56 Ironclad, 38 Resistant, and this is what I was talking about, not padding the character sheet, making it look pretty. A lot of people just toss a shit ton of points in light armor, focus, and spell shield to make themselves seem like they have a shit ton of resistances, but I wouldn't say wasted points, but they're better allocated elsewhere. And the reason we have so many in this one, like I said, is to go over the Unchained passive. So I'll let you kind of read it there. In addition, Critical Leech, this is another little passive heal that people don't really notice. So when you deal damage, critical attack, you heal. Blah, this is going to be every 5 seconds. So you're pretty much always healing with this as well. There was one more passive I want to go. Oh yeah, Resent as well. When you take critical damage, you heal. So you have a lot of sources of healing is what I'm trying to say. You have 4 skills that does on your bar. You have 2 passives. So keep them in. And like I said, don't be afraid to roll dodge. You get phase, you get a little more resistance here, so keep all that shit in mind. And then we got 56 in the Bastion. We only got 40k Magicka pull on our back bar, so having 56 points in the Bastion is pretty much essential, just so we don't have really shit wards. So, alright. 56 in Warlord. Siphoner is banned. You can't put any points into this for obvious reasons. Got 49, just a flat 11%, a 1% to tenacity. Who knows, you may heavy attack. You're not going to need to, but the points had to go somewhere. And last but not least, we got 56 in Tumbling, 56 in Shadow Ward. These are pretty well rounded. I don't see me ever changing this tree up whatsoever. You don't need any points in Bless. You already have enough healing going on, and you don't need any points in the Quick Recovery. I assure you, you're not going to need any more healing than you already have. But that will do it for the build, guys. I mean, I'm not going to keep you guys here and have the build work. So, of course, it's going to go off right toward the end of the video. Almost made it through, completely uninterrupted. But, yeah, a few things to note about the build, fellas. Run tri-stats, and just have fun with it. I mean, it's going to take some getting used to. Because the tourneys, they're easy, and they're also not easy. That makes sense. A lot more strategicness goes into playing in these tourneys. But hope you guys enjoyed the build. Please like and subscribe. I'm trying to do a video every day. If I don't get around to it definitely going to be at least every other. I'll be coming out with a Magicka, but not a tourney build, just a dueling build, because a couple of you requested my dueling setup for my Mag DK. So I'll open that tomorrow. As far as the turn of the DK, I've not really found too much change from my dueling build. I'm going to show you guys. I mean, there's a couple abilities that we have to move around. I'll do that with the next video. Yeah, like, sub, take care, peace.